Nikola Tesla, Mind of the Future. Good afternoon, everybody. Today I'll be talking about Nikola Tesla, Mind of the Future. Actually, here I'll be talking about a few things, like the day Nikola Tesla was born, his early life, Nikola and his discovery, Nikola and Thomas Edison, the difference between AC and DC current, Nikola and Westinghouse, the first sustainable power plant, Nikola's other inventions, how it contributed in our life, and the references page. The day Nikola Tesla was born. He was born on July 10th, 1856, Simlin, Austria Empire. Now in Croatia. On the day Nikola Tesla was born, there was a thunderstorm. And back then, people used to think that thunderstorms was a bad luck. Unlike his mother, she thought otherwise. She believed that her newborn would be one of the greatest inventors in all history. The thunderstorms happen when negative and positive clouds react to each other and make lightning. Nikola's early life. When Nikola went to school, he had a very quick mind and a very sharp memory. In fact, Nikola easily did complicated math equations in his head. Were you aware that in 1873, Nikola became seriously ill? He had cholera, an infection that causes severe stomach problems. Also, Tesla studied math and physics at the Technical University of Graz and the philosophy at the University of Prague. Fun fact, did you know that since Nikola was so skilled, all his teachers suspected that he was cheating? Nikola and his discovery. One day while Nikola was stroking the back of his black cat, the cat's back became like a sheet of light, and his hands produced a shower of crackling sparks loud enough to be heard all over his house. As he was speechless with amazement, he wanted to learn more about what does electricity mean. Did you know that atoms are the basic unit of all matter? Electrons are found in atoms, and they have a negative charge of electricity. When objects are rubbed against each other, the electrons move from one object to another to make them equal. This is called a static electricity and causes a static shock like what happened to Nikola. Before 1870s, most motors relied on DC current, which more expensive, sparked a lot, and produced less electricity power. However, Nikola discovered the alternating current, AC, to be more practical than the DC current. The scientists did not understand his method, but he required to prove it to gain his attention. Nikola Tesla was an electrical engineer. He studied electricity and systems transmit energy. Now, electrical engineers also study electronics and how to make systems that process or transmit information in computers. Tesla made difficult choices for the sake of his research and designing a better motor that he's often stayed awake all night. As days passed without a breakthrough, he grew more tired and frustrated. But Tesla's efforts never gave up though, and his efforts paid off. Tesla traveled to Paris and worked in Edison Works Company. In 1883, Tesla has built a working model and demonstrated it in front of investors. Although they were fascinated by Tesla's effort, they were still convinced that DC was a better power source. One evening in 1882, Tesla strolled through a park with a friend and a vision came up to him. It was a solution for the brushless AC motor, the problem that Tesla has been working so hard to do. Because he hadn't brought a pen and paper, he sketched the rotating magnets in the sand with a stick. Do you know what an alternator means? An alternator produces electricity. It creates when the wires spin inside the magnetic field. Tesla invented the first alternator that was more efficient than DC electrical generator. Nikola and Thomas Edison. Nikola made traveled to Paris and works in Edison the Machine Company. Tesla traveled to Paris and worked in Edison Machine Works Company. In 1883, Tesla had built a working model and demonstrated it in front of inventors. Although they were fascinated by Tesla's efforts, they were still convinced that DC was a better power source. Tesla's manager convinced him to travel back to the United States to meet Edison in person. Tesla got Edison's attention. However, he didn't convince him about his AC power system. Edison urged Tesla to improve the DC design, and we were rewarded with $50,000. Tesla jumped with excitement at this challenge and made the improvement dynamo. However, Edison has been claimed that he's only been joking about the money that he promised Tesla. So Tesla quit working for him. A dynamo is a magnetic that takes mechanical energy and turns it into electrical energy by using spinning wires and magnetic fields to change alternating current to direct current. Tesla had personal conflicts with Thomas Edison. He was bitterly disappointed to learn that the Nobel Prize, which he had thought would be given to both Edison and himself, would only be going to Edison. Nikola and Thomas Edison. Edison did not want to lose his royalties that he was earning from his direct current patents and began a campaign to discredit alternating current. He spread misinformation saying that alternating current was more dangerous, even going so far by publicly electrocuting stray animals, even to prove his point. The difference between AC and DC. As we can see, AC was invented for Nikola Tesla, and DC was invented by Thomas Edison. AC is an electrical current that periodically fluctuates. It means it changes direction back and forth many times per second. Unlike in the DC current, the flow is only going in one direction. AC current can travel a long distance without losing much electricity power. But in DC current cannot travel for long distances because it loses a lot of electricity. The rotating magnets causes the change of the direction of the electrical flow. Unlike in DC, the steady magnetism makes DC flow in a single direction. The electrons in AC keep changing their direction, backwards and forwards. But the electrons in the DC only move in one direction, forwards. As we can see, here is a small diagram, but here's a better one. AC versus DC current. Here's the DC electricity. It flows in one direction. The electrons in the DC system loses strength as they travel through the wires. Here's the load, the ball, here's the battery, and here's the switch. And here's the red arrows going from negative to positive, and back again. Unlike in the AC current, it's an electrical current that periodically fluctuates. It means electrons vibrate back and forth many times per second, from negative to positive and positive to negative. And it can be modified, and this time controls by modifying it at the speed of the AC generator. Here's the AC generator that Nikola made. Here's the load and here's the switch. And as you can see, there's the red and blue on the one single arrow because it shows how it vibrates back and forth many times. Did you know that it completes 60 complete cycles per second? Fun fact, did you know that the energy in the battery is called chemical energy? But then it can transform into electrical energy. After you add a load in the circuit, it becomes light and you can feel it heat up. Nikola is in Westinghouse. Before Nikola makes the Westinghouse, this is what happened. Two businessmen saw the promise in the unemployed inventor. With their money, Nikola started a company. But soon, when Nikola wanted to use electricity generated from his generator, they fired the inventor from his own company. George Westinghouse was an American inventor who liked Tesla and believed in AC electricity. When Westinghouse heard about Nikola's great ideas, he immediately hired the inventor and paid well for his patents. A patent says that only an inventor can make or sell their invention. A royalty is the money made from letting other Others use or sell the new invention. Over his lifetime, Nikola had 278 patents awarded for him from 26 countries. In 1893, Nikola and Westinghouse were both chosen to illuminate the Chicago World's Fair, since their AC didn't cost as much as the DC. And Nikola finally got to prove that electricity was the way to go. The first AC hydroelectric power plant, sustainable energy. In 1895, Westinghouse Electric Company built one of the first AC hydroelectric power plants from Niagara Falls to turn into one of AC's generators. Nikola's other inventions. The Tesla coil is an electrical transformer that uses high-frequency alternating current to increase the voltage. Because of its extremely high voltage, electricity in the Tesla coil can travel through the air, powering or damaging the nearby electronics devices, often with arcs of electricity, lightning-like electricity. Arcs mean sparks. And here is the Nikola transformed electrical energy to high voltage electrical energy in the Tesla coil. The radio. Tesla discovered how to send wireless signals in 1890s, laying a very good foundation for the modern radio. But Moroccan built the first working wireless telegraph system, turning the theory of the radio into a usable invention. But Moroccan received more fame than Nikola because he was wealthy. Nikola transformed electrical energy into radio frequency. He did it by electromagnetic waves. The X-ray. Tesla's X-ray experiment helped prove that electricity could generate powerful invincible radiation, also known as telegraphs. Fun fact, did you know that he even created the motor that is used today in the fast electric sports car and is named after him? Also, Nikola transformed electrical energy into mechanical energy when he made the motor. How it contributed in our life. It contributed in our life because of its invention of the AC power. He made electricity travel long distances, so me and everybody's homes, schools, and cities can all have power. Guys, imagine if Nikola didn't make the AC power. Then, when you live up the mountains or hills, it will be so quiet and dark since it doesn't really have any AC. Also, there will be no radio, no phones, no televisions or computers to break the silence. Also, Nikola's radio experiments led to our everyday using Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and remote control. As well, Tesla inspired future inventors with his dream of free, clean, sustainable energy for everyone. Here's a quote that he said, a famous quote that he said, "Money does not represent such a value that men have placed upon us. All of my money has been invested to experiment which I have made the new discoveries, enabling mankind to have a little easier life." And here's a references page that all of the presentation used. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much.